welcome to a virtual discussion at the Austrian Cultural Forum here in New York. Joining us today is Lisl Steiner, an outstanding and iconic photographer, and it is a great honor and privilege to have her with us. When I had the chance to meet her for the first time in Manhattan, she was accompanied by two young female artists, and I was impressed to see how cheerful and helpful Lisl was with them, and how appreciative these two artists were to be in her presence. This personal experience I was able to share with Lisl best describes her sensitivity, which I believe is one of the key elements for understanding her photographic work. She will discuss with Uwe Schögl, art historian and expert for historic photography at the Austrian National Library, joining us from Vienna. I'm also very pleased to have Petschar with us, the director of the photography department at the Austrian National Library, the institution in which a large part of Lisl Steiner's work found a home, and who is promoting and conserving her oeuvre. Dr. Petschar, please, the floor is yours.
Welcome from the Austrian National Library. My name is Petschar. I'm the director of the picture archives of the Austrian National Library. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce my colleague Uwe Schögl and above all our special guest Lisl Steiner to our audience. Many thanks to Dr. Haider and the Austrian Cultural Forum for making this event possible. The picture archives of the Austrian National Library holds more than 3 million objects, among them millions of photographs. We are proud to have among our photographic treasures the photo archive of the United States Information Services in Austria, which documented the Marshall Plan and post-war Austria and the recovery of Austria after the Nazi terror, which has been proactively supported by too many Austrians. We do feel a strong responsibility to our younger generations to communicate the value of democracy and to honor the people who share our values. One of them is Lisl Steiner. And we are grateful that you gave us your creative work for preservation and for sharing it with future generations. Lisl Steiner was born in 1927. She was forced to emigrate with her family in 1938 when Austria was annexed by the Nazis. She has a fascinating biography. She made an exceptional career. And she is, as we will see in a moment, a fascinating personality. So without further ado, the floor is yours, Uwe and Lisl Steiner. Thank you.
Welcome everybody. I'm happy to see you, Lisl. Hi. Much time has passed since we last met and talked for a long time when we were in Vienna 2 years ago. I remember that you celebrate your birthday in Vienna every year in November in the Hotel The Blue Bar, and where you spent a lot of days when you were a child in Vienna. But let's start our talk to speaking about life today. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed everything. How is your life now in Palm Ridge, a small town nearby Manhattan, where you live for many years now? Please, Lisl, tell me, how are you today?
I'm well. I have 3 cats. I have no children and older parents to worry about. I live in an exceptional, beautiful place. And well, I'm just waiting for this to end, but I'm an optimist who is pessimistic. It won't end very quickly, what we are all going through.
Lisl, today you are a well-known, established photographer. We find stories of you in newspapers, on TV, and a book with the title Lisl Baby was published some years ago. You're still going strong and taking photographs now, and at the age of 88, you become a star on YouTube. You're very, very present on social media. So I have the impression that you will be young forever.
I'm 93 now, I was born in 1927 on the 19th of November, and I grew up. I had a very happy childhood, only child. So in 1938, my father decided we're going to leave. We didn't leave under pressure. We left before that, before it became ugly. We went to Trieste, stayed there several months, and then we took a ship called Oceania. When the ship landed first in Africa, I got a present, a little monkey, but the monkey didn't survive. When we arrived in Buenos Aires, Argentina, he was gone. So we lived in Buenos Aires. I grew up, I had friends. I married a young oboist whose father was a very famous stage director of operas, Otto Erhard. I used to pass to school. It was an art school, and I passed a newspaper, and over the portal was an inscription, and it said, God has put me over this city like a horsefly on a noble stallion to prick it and keep it alive, Socrates. So each morning I saw that. After that school, I went to the University of Buenos Aires. I didn't like it, and I left. I became an autodidact.
When you came to New York in the late 1950s and you started a great career as a photo reporter, you were very successful right from the beginning. Now please tell me, what was the life when you came to New York? What was your first impressions from New York? And how did you find a new identity there? It was a new life for you. Please tell me about that.
Well, I lived in the village, Greenwich Village, overlooking the park. And my rent was $90 a month's rent. And my landlord, who lived around the corner, was telling me I didn't have to pay on time. Those were the times. So that was my life in Greenwich Village. In 1955, there was a revolution, and a very lovely general, a good one for a change, became president. And one of the first things he did, he went to Ushuaia, very low, near 11 hours from the South Pole, and he went fishing. So I followed him in a tiny aircraft called Beechcraft, and I have never seen that airplane again. It had a cupola. I sat in the cupola counting the sheeps of the Patagonia. When I arrived, I followed him. I photographed him fishing, and Time and Life decided this was the major event of the 20th century, general fishing. So this was my beginning. In 1959, I'm jumping, I worked also for a magazine in Brazil called O Cruzeiro, which was the life of Latin America. In 1959, I covered a foreign ministers' conference in Santiago, Chile, and in 30 minutes, I convinced 21 foreign ministers to do something about the children of this continent, the three Americas, and the world. And I have been at it ever since. There was going to be a major thing in Chile a few months ago, but it was all canceled. So this is what is happening. I still photograph, usually with my Leica and with my iPhone. And yeah, what I'm most proud about is my infogram, because I have 1,000 pictures there, 1,040 pictures, and I'm so proud of them. Young, old, rich, poor, sick, healthy, self-portraits. So anybody who is interested, please go to my infogram.
Let's speak about your photographic highlights. I suppose humor plays a big role in your photography. I think of the very personal portrait of Louis Armstrong from 1959 as a half-naked man. Now, tell us the whole story, please.
Well, he was a very sweet man, and he came to Buenos Aires, and I photographed him in this hotel room. And well, we had a great relationship, and he was very candid. I was in his dressing room. He was about to give a concert. He was a very sweet man, married several times. His last wife was Lucy. And there's a wonderful house in Queens where they lived. Instead of going much to Hollywood and living there, he lived in a neighborhood of many Black people, musicians and others in Queens. He was very successful in Hollywood at that point. He gave a wonderful concert, and he enjoyed very much Argentina, Buenos Aires.
I remember there's another unique photography. It's a portrait of Fidel Castro. I mean, not the portrait of himself, but the portrait of Fidel Castro's shoes. So this photograph was taken in 1960. Tell me, why did you portray his shoes and not Fidel Castro himself?
Well, it was like this. Fidel Castro came to a meeting in Buenos Aires. I photographed that. And that day he was sick. He had the flu. And I passed the door, and there was a man shining shoes, and not shoes, boots. And I said, whose boots are they? And he said, Fidel. So I photographed the boots. I photographed the man shining them. And I'm very proud of these two pictures.
So I have another question about the project, the Children of Americas. You told about this very, very long time project. This is a very unknown project, and it's very emphasizing and fascinating, because I think that this is a photographic project about love. Is it right?
It hasn't ended. It's still very important for me. There's a poem by Gabriela Mistral, won the Nobel Prize in Literature from Chile, and she wrote a poem, which is also in my infogram, about the children. What has to be done? That blood has to be nurtured. And it's a lovely little poem, and it's the leitmotif of my oeuvre. This is the future of this continent, the three Americas and the world. These children have to be raised properly, and they are not. So I traveled, first of all, in Chile in 1959, when I photographed a conference of foreign ministers. In 30 minutes, I convinced 21 foreign ministers that to do something for the children of the Americas is the most important thing. And they all signed a letter in 30 minutes, 21 guys. So I was very proud. That was quite an achievement, you know. So I traveled to every country and photographed children dying of hunger. This is Central Park, and this is that famous fairy tale. So all these children, poor, rich, healthy, sick, dead, I photographed them all.
You have a special style of photographing, and I feel you had a lot of experience when you lived in Vienna. You were in the Blue Bar in Hotel Sacher, you were in the famous Lowe's Bar. So this is very European influenced, but you lived very long in America. So what is the difference between photographing in Europe and photographing in America? Is there a difference for you?
No, there's no difference. The world is all a little pocketbook. It's human beings suffering, happy. You see, a photographer has to be able to get around. I was able to be in 5 minutes in the White House. You showed your pass, you were in, there was the fish room where they all sat on the floor, very leger, and all this has changed. You can't get into the house even if you showed, I don't know what. And they sit there like school children and get briefed. It is a nightmare of no communication. All is superficial. It has nothing to do with what happened in the 50s and 60s. It was all human, and now it is inhuman. I was at the Carlisle Hotel, and there was on the 11th floor Bobby Kennedy. And these children were all from Ireland. And he signed papers for them and he talked to them. He was very gentle. He was a lovely guy. And of course, he was assassinated like his brother. He was running for president. Don't they look like a pair of dancers? She was a nice lady. She was very quiet, and he was always nice to me. I met him several times. But he came to Latin America, and in Venezuela, they stoned him, his car, you know. They threw rocks, and I was in the third car, so I didn't get it. He got it, but he wasn't hurt. This is Martin Luther King in Miami Beach, and he's looking at me in a certain way. I think I was the only woman photographing there with men, so he was intrigued by me. He was a nice man. I was in Atlanta. I spent the whole night in the Abyssinian church with his body. And I spent the whole night in Washington with Kennedy. I have been in more death situations. So here we are, 2021, and where are we going? Big question mark. For the last 9 years, or is it 14? I'm not sure. I have been going, each time in Vienna, I go to the Grafische, and I have 900 young people motivated. I give them a little hit in the behind because many are sitting there and very bored. And lately, there was a young woman who wrote me the most fantastic letter saying that I have motivated her. She was very shy. She didn't dare. She didn't do this or that. And because I came to talk to them, she has changed her attitude. I'm very active with the Grafische, and I'm so proud that 900 young people have to listen to me and let me give them a little electricity.
Lisl, the last question. You are teaching photography in Vienna. It's impressive. When you see the students and they ask you, what is important for us for the future? What do you tell them? What is important for the future for the young people?
Well, I can't tell them because the future is so insecure. I'm not a Zauberer and see, but it's a very difficult question. To just give a stupid advice is not good. They have to find themselves. They have to believe in themselves. They have to go out. For example, I'm at the end of everything because I'm slower. You have to be a photographer. I was all over the place. I was in the White House. I was there. I was here. I was constantly in movement. That is almost impossible today. You can't do it. So, you know, just to give advice is not a good idea. You can only give advice when you completely know what you're talking about. And right now, nobody knows anything. So that's my answer.
Lisl, it's a wonderful answer. Thank you for the talk and all the best and keep well. Salve, Uwe from Vienna. Ciao.
Danke. Auf Wiedersehen.